Hello, good day, everybody. Welcome to COXO Free Public Webinar. This is Nina. Today, we are glad to invite the professor from Jordan, Dr. Daham, to bring his topic, I'm doing right, but some of my endodontic cases are failed. and also invite our Jordan distributor Caspi Dent to introduce their company. Some of you may know that we prepare a e-certificates for dentists who join our course. Now, let me introduce you how to get the e-certificates. How to get the e-certificates? The first step is follow and like the COXO on our Facebook. You follow here and like our page. And second step is to leave your comments or questions below the live video. You can write the comments here. And the third step, at the end of the live, we will share a link to the comments below the live video. So please, you can open the link and fill the form and submit and apply for the certificates. Above 3 steps all done. In 5 days, you will receive the e-certificates in your email. Please note that the form applications can be filled only one time and will be available for only 5 hours after lecture. 5 hours later, the applications channel will be closed. After that time, we will not accept any applications. So please fill out the form as soon as possible you can. And the form cannot be modified. So please make sure the information you left are correct. Let's see the e-certificates show like this. So this is how to get the e-certificates. One more very important for our course is there will be a lottery at the end of the live. Let's see what the special gifts for today. Today, the special gift is the air abrasion system with the spray. This is our new product of this year. Both it can use dry and wet, and also with the water. So it can be get the better sandblasting effect. It's very useful products. Then how to get the lottery? Please pay attention. How to get the lottery? You just need leave your comments and questions below the live video. Then you will have chance to get the lottery goods. So just leave your comments and questions. Then Dr. Taham will answer your questions. We answer your questions at the end of the video. So I think now you are very clear that how to get the e-certificates and how to win the lottery goods. And good luck for everyone. And next, as before I mentioned that we also introduced our distributor Casdan from Jordan. Now let me warmly welcome Dr. Casdan from Casdan. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Nina. Thank you, Nina. I want to welcome all dentists who now attend the lecture. And I like to thank COXO company for this course. Now let me introduce our company, Kasib Medical Establishment.
Okay.
Let me share the screen. Okay. Our company is Kasib Medical Establishment. We founded in 2015 in Jordan, and we distribute most of the dental equipments and materials. And we also distribute most of the COXO company products many years ago. About COXO company, really what we like is the innovation and the rapid continuous development of the high technology products, and also their care of the quality and the after sale services. Also, this is my first endomotors that I bought. The first product that I bought from the COXO in 2010 when I graduated from the university. And look, the quality, I still use it in my clinic until now. And I never change battery or get any troubles. So we focus on the COXO, really focus on the quality beside the after sale services. And beside the endomotors, COXO have a wide range of products from endomotors like this, the new endomotors from COXO, the C-Smart Mini AB, which we distribute here in Jordan. It is a wireless endomotor with integrated apex locator, many options, and we can see it, say it clearly that this is the best in the market from the similar brands. Okay, lightweight, small head, wireless charging, colorful locking. You can use it right and left hand, and we will do some promotion for this lecture. Also, this is the new endomotor from COXO. We will have it soon here in Jordan. And we also have the apex locator, the 4th generation apex locator from COXO. COXO apex locator, we can see it clearly, it's 100% correct. And the obturation system from them, the C-Film Mini, and the new ultrasonic activator, the Ultra Smart, and also the electric motor and the implant motors. All you can see in the COXO page on Facebook and also in our company page. And you can contact us anytime for any inquiry and any questions. So for this today's lecture, we do a special promotion on the C-Smart Mini AB. We do 20% discount today until the end of October. You can get this promotion. And now let us introduce our professor, Dr. Taher Al Omari. He is a consultant endodontist and assistant professor at the Jordan University of Science and Technology. Welcome, Dr. Taher.
To be with you guys for today. Okay, shall we start? Dr. Muhammad, shall we start?
Yes, you can start.
I will share my screen now, inshallah.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. How are you guys? Hope you are doing well. For today's lecture, inshallah, we'll speak more of science and more of practical experience with some of the COXO products. To introduce myself, my name is Taher. I'm from Jordan University of Science and Technology. I'm an assistant professor. And to catch up with what Nina said regarding the certificate and the lottery for the Sandblast machine, you need to do the follow and share and to comment under the video, and then there will be one lucky winner for that part. Okay. So about myself, currently I'm teaching at Jordan University of Science and Technology. Before that, I used to be a supervisor for the Saudi board for 6 years. 11 resident graduated under my name, and now they are running programs in endodontics. Before that, I used to be a specialist endodontist in Jordan. And before we start as well, I would like to invite everybody to our upcoming endodontic symposium. It will be a hybrid symposium. held in Amman in 25th of November, next month, inshallah. We have 6 distinguished speakers from Jordan, and we have a special guest from Syria, Dr. Talal Nahlawi. The registration fees for this symposium is $65, and you can register online for the people from outside Jordan. Okay, let's go for our lecture today. Today's question, I do everything right, but some of my endodontic cases fail. The question is why? Why do you have failure of a good endodontic cases? Now, to talk about successful endodontics, we need to talk about 3 pillars, 3 important pillars. The first one is the diagnosis. We have to know our diagnosis, and the diagnosis including why we have failure, why this case particularly failed, if we are talking about retreatment. And the second one is the biomechanical cleaning and shaping. We are not talking about rotary instrument only. We have to include the irrigation type, time, and agitation techniques. And finally, we have to hermetically seal the root canal system. And in this part, we are talking about obturation and coronal seal. Case number 1, an irreversible bulbitis case. Everything was good. Filling was done to the patient, and the patient developed symptoms of severe pain. The tooth diagnosed as an irreversible bulbitis. The cleaning and shaping was done. All the canals were located and obturated. And in such case, we are talking about a very high success rate. We are talking about 80 to 90% success rate. And this is according to the literature. We have multiple studies identify the outcome of the treatment. One of them is the Toronto group of studies. And in this study, we know that the success rate of primary treatment, especially if the tooth is vital, is quite high. It's approaching 90%. And the NG studies as well, they suggested a success rate of 85%. However, we do have cases with huge periapical lesion, such as this one on the lower 7. Okay, I don't have a pointer. I'm sorry for that. And in the presence of periapical lesion, the success rate is going a little bit down. We are talking about 70 to 80% success rate, and still, this is a good number. So, if a case like that, 24 years old patient come to you and she complains of a pain on her lower right quadrant. There's a treated tooth, the tooth number 6, and we have a huge periapical lesion on the 7. In this case, we have to think about the cause of this lesion, why it happens, and why it enlarged like that. So the origin of the lesion. Now we talk about the risk factors. In this case, the tooth type, the tooth location. And this is from NG study. There's 4 risk factors that could affect the treatment outcome. One of them or 2 of them, the tooth type and the location. And finally, we have to discuss with the patient satisfaction, the cost of the treatment, and the expected outcome. In such a huge lesion, many of you, they will think to extract the tooth as this is a cyst. But from the literature and from the work of Nair in 1996, we know that around 85 or 89% of the cases doesn't have a true cyst, but rather a kind of granulation tissue or apical abscess. So such a lesion, although it's huge, still can be treated endodontically without the need of extraction. Now, this is the same tooth, and you can see if we look to the mandible, there's a suturization on the mandible. There's an expansion on the border of the mandible because of the huge lesion. All of that, the treatment was done in 2 visits. We did calcium hydroxide dressing for 2 weeks, and we followed that with obturation, and we secured the tooth with a final restoration. In this case, I think it was an amalgam restoration. And in this case particularly, we enlarged the apical area to decrease the amount of bacteria. And you can see the tooth after 4 years with full healing with no lesion. However, the lower 6, the other tooth was diseased now, and I guess the reason is the presence of bacteria inside the root canal system and the presence of fractured file on the mesial system next to an infected isthmus. Now the case number 3. In this case, we have a tooth that we thought of extracting it first. The tooth come with grade 2 mobility and forcation involvement. The tooth was negative on vitality testing, and there was a huge periodontal destruction. The periodontal probing on the buccal was around 8 to 10 millimeter on the buccal side. So we decided in this case to do the treatment first. We evaluated the treatment options. One of them was the extraction, one of them was the endodontic treatment, and one of them was the periodontal treatment. So in this case, we might do 2 or 3 of the options. Extraction was out of the question. It will prevent the further destruction of the bone. However, extracting the tooth in such case and the presence of the ID nerve very close would make it difficult to insert an implant. So the idea was to start an endodontic treatment combined with a periodontal treatment. And eventually, we end up with healing. You can see the results. And in the left side, here we have the figure C, 3 months follow-up, the figure F, 6-month follow-up, and you can see the 9 months follow-up. So a good endodontic treatment combined with periodontal treatment should resolve the periapical lesion in case you did it right. Okay. Now, if we look to the periapical lesion, what is the cause of the periapical lesion? Okay. From literature, we know that the bacteria is the cause of periapical lesion, but not the destruction. We are talking about the causative factor that lead to such bone destruction as a kind of reaction to the presence of bacteria. The body will defend itself by the macrophages, the tumor necrosis factor, and interleukin-1, and those would end up doing the bone destruction. But this is as a reaction of the presence of bacteria. Now, in the early century, in the last century, William Hunter introduced the focal infection theory, and that theory was basically talking about that the periapical lesions will spread the disease to the body, and we need to extract all the teeth that has a periapical lesion. And we see it now coming again in some video production, The Root Causes, that was on Netflix, and they talk about that you need to extract all the teeth and insert kind of implant. So this is not right, and all the literature prove that there's nothing like that. Now, Kakahashi in 1965 proved that the presence of bacteria inside the root canal would cause the destruction. Now, Fabregas and Moller in 1982 successfully managed to culture the type bacteria, and they say that the primary infection usually have an obligate anaerobes and facultative anaerobes, and out of that they suggested using H2O2 for irrigation. However, with more recent techniques, we know that in the primary lesion we have a gram-negative bacteria, and gram-negative bacteria is easily could be eradicated by irrigation with sodium hypochlorite. And now we are talking more about the presence of biofilm, which is quite more difficult. So the bacteria inside the root canal could be either on a single form, which is a planktonic form, or in agriculture or aggregate, which is the biofilm. Now, the presence of bacteria on planktonic phase would be easy to eradicate. However, majority of bacteria are present in biofilm, and the presence of biofilm will protect bacteria from the action of irrigation. That's why we do have cases that was well treated but still not healed, or there is still a periapical lesion related to the presence of a biofilm inside the root canal. We see that very common in isthmus, especially in the MB1 and MB2, and in the lower molars, where isthmus cannot be cleaned very well. So in this case, the bacteria will stay in that area and will cause a continuous irritation that end up with periapical lesion. And this is a similar result, a similar case where a well-treated tooth, however, it did not heal. In this case, usually we go for surgery to solve the problem, and the major problem always is the isthmus. Now, this is a study by Ricucci and Squera, and in this study, they extracted non-restorable teeth with periapical lesion, and they culture the periapical lesion, and they found that the biofilm was presented in all of the infected cases and in most of the cases with periapical lesion. So the biofilm is the major cause of the presence of periapical lesion. So can we reduce the biofilm by mechanical preparation? This is the first question. Can we use rotary files to remove the biofilm? Now, the problem with root canal is the complexity. Now, if you look to this molar, for example, you can see that we have an area that we cannot clean with our rotary files, and our rotary files cannot reach those areas, especially the ramification. This is a study by Frank Becquet and his group. They did micro-CT scanning just before preparation, and they did the after preparation, and they conclude in their study that the untreated area range between 60 and 80% of the canal length. So you talk about and 60 to 80% in certain cases of the canal length was not touched by rotary systems, regardless of the rotary system you use. Actually, the rotary system would more enlarge the canal to allow the irrigant to go to the deep and difficult areas. So we go back again to the biofilm. Now our problem with biofilm that we cannot eradicate with rotary files, so we have to use certain irrigants. The common irrigants that are available and still be used, the H2O2, the IKI, the chlorhexidine, sodium hypochlorite, saline, the MTAD, which is not in our area, EDTA, and the dual rinse, which is a new material. Now, let's compare chlorhexidine with sorry for that, with sodium hypochlorite. The major difference between the chlorhexidine and the sodium hypochlorite is the ability of sodium hypochlorite to dissolve the lesion or to dissolve the tissue. In this case, we have an agar culture material with some bacteria, and you can see that the sodium hypochlorite dissolves the tissue and it will kill the bacteria. However, the chlorhexidine has a good substantivity against bacteria, but it doesn't dissolve the tissue. In this case, the bacteria infiltrate inside, will not be affected by the chlorhexidine. Now, the chlorhexidine was an effective material. Many studies indicate that the use of chlorhexidine would increase the success or the outcome of the treatment. However, in 2011, NG and her group in their study found that the use of chlorhexidine decreased the success rate. So they suggest abstaining from using the chlorhexidine as an adjunct irrigation next to the sodium hypochlorite. But why is that? Why the outcome of using the chlorhexidine was negative, was not positive? We know that the chlorhexidine is a potent antibacterial material. However, it has a negative effect on the outcome of the treatment. The reason is the presence of a material as a reaction of sodium hypochlorite and chlorhexidine. This material called parachloroaniline, and this material is a toxic material. However, they found that this material found inside the root canal in an inactive way, but the presence of precipitate as a result of the reaction between the two material would block the dental tubules. So the problem that using chlorhexidine in an infected dental tubule will block the dental tubule with a kind of brown precipitate, and this blockage will prevent the action of sodium hypochlorite on killing the bacteria. That's why the chlorhexidine actually has a negative effect on the treatment outcome. So as a kind of recommendation, usually we should use sodium hypochlorite and editor on the final irrigation to achieve an open patent dental tubules and a more successful treatment. However, we still have some question regarding the dental tubules and the editor. Now let's compare the editor, sodium hypochlorite, and chlorhexidine on the action on the biofilm. In this nice study, the three materials were used, and the effect on biofilm was studied. In this case, the sodium hypochlorite was the best in the yellow for the control of the biofilm, or the dissolved the biofilm. Editor was next to it, and finally the chlorhexidine was the third, and was quite similar to the buffer material. Okay, in this study as well, they found that the chlorhexidine did not remove the biofilm, but rather rearrange the structure. So the use of sodium and editor and alternate between them in the final irrigation was enough to remove and decrease the amount of bacteria and the biofilm. Okay, so again, as a conclusion, sodium and editor should be combined in the final treatment, and we don't need any further solution to decrease or increase our efficiency. The question would come, what is the time needed for irrigation? For how long I need to irrigate inside the root canal? And what is the optimum concentration to be used in the root canal? For me, I'm using the 2.5%, and it's related to the fact that I obturate, and after the endo, I usually seal the root canal treatment or the root canal space with composite. And the high concentration, the 5.25, is usually would decrease the bonding strength because it will remove some of the collagen inside the dentine. That's why I prefer the 2.5. But let's look to the literature about the time and the concentration. In this nice study as well, the group of researchers tried to see the effect of sodium hypochlorite, time and concentration on the E. faecalis. Okay. Now, in the study, they found that the higher concentration was the best to eliminate the E. faecalis, and the time needed was actually 40 minutes from start to the end to remove the E. faecalis. So that's why the time needed to remove the E. faecalis or to clean the canal should be not less than 40 minutes. And when we talk about 40 minutes, and I'm one of the people using single file, reciprocating file, and this is the R motion from FKJ. I use it with COXO motor. It allows for both reciprocation and rotation. When I use the single file, I finish the cleaning of the canal within less than 2 to 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, I'm done. But the time of the treatment, the time when I start irrigation until the end, is not less than 40 minutes. You have to keep irrigating. You have to keep your preparation always wet with sodium hypochlorite. And our student, remember that I request of them always to have a 4 walls like this molar, the picture here, so the sodium will always stay inside the canal and it will not run away. Otherwise, the efficiency of our irrigation will be compromised. So how we deliver our irrigation? We need to go to the apex. That's why we have to use special irrigation needle. Now, one of the things that the irrigation needle that we use should reach to the apical area. The picture in the upper part on the left show you a short needle that the irrigation only run to the middle part of the canal, so the apical area will not be cleaned. And remember that your rotary file only going to touch around maximum 50% of the canal walls, which means we have another 50% was not cleaned and was not touched, and your irrigation should go nearly to the apex. Now, we should use the side vented needle. We should not use the open end needles, because this would cause a possibility of sodium hypochlorite accident, and we should use gentle forces. The other thing, how far and how deep we have to go. Now, this is a nice study. A group of researchers take a photo, thermal photos for the irrigant and the current of the irrigant and the depth of the insertion. They conclude that using a small gauge needle, 27, and inserted to 3 millimeter away from the apex, with at least apical preparation of 30 would allow the irrigant to reach the apex. So you need to prepare your apical area at least to the size 30. You have to insert your needle up to 3 millimeter of the working length, and you should use a small needle, a 27 gauge needle, rather than the 25. Otherwise, your irrigant will not be able to reach. And in this case, the blue color is the possibility of the irrigant to reach. So, for example, if you are using a large gauge, 23 millimeter, you have to prepare your canal up to 50, and you have to insert your needle up to 30. In case you are using the 25 gauge needle, you have to prepare your canal up to 45 and to insert your needle up to 3 millimeter. So if we insert our needle to the 3 millimeter, are we guaranteed to remove the biofilm? The question would be answered by other research that needle irrigation alone doesn't eliminate the biofilm. So we need to activate our irrigant. We have to do something to increase the efficiency of our irrigant, how it goes inside the root canal. And the most common and the most famous is the ultrasonic activation. In this study, they compare the ultrasonic activation to the conventional needle, and they found that the conventional needle only clean around 24% of the canal. However, the ultrasonic would eliminate the bacteria up to 98%. So a huge difference when the activation of the sodium hydrochlorate by the ultrasonic in regard of the elimination of the bacteria. Now, when we activate with ultrasonic, we will create the acoustic waves, and you can see on the picture on the left how the vibration would create a kind of small bubbles, and those bubbles will accumulate and will expand, creating shock waves that would enhance the action of sodium chlorate, and it will kill the bacteria. Now, the ultra-smart wireless ultrasonic activator is a new device from COXO. I tried that machine as a kind of irrigant, and I compared to other machines. In this case, I use it to enhance my irrigation. And you can see on the video, this is a lower molar. You can see we did the final irrigation protocol. This is the editor. You can see the bubbles created by the editor, and we did the activation before for the distal. You can see the accumulation of the bubbles and the shock waves that is clear on the shaft of the ultrasonic tip. You can even see the motion of the solution around on the clamp. This is a close-up. You can see the shock waves, how it moves. It's clear that this machine creates the shock waves inside the root canal and enhance the irrigation. Finally, before we move more toward the apical seal, so let's catch up with what we say. We prepare our canal with our rotary instrument. We did an activation of irrigation, and then we did the obturation. And I'm not going to talk about the obturation today. This is another issue. But after the obturation is the most important part, is how to seal our root canal space. Now, we know from the literature that a lot of studies has highlighted the importance of coronal seal. This is one of the earliest study by Sandros, and this is meta-analysis and systematic review by Gillian, and all stress on the importance of the coronal seal. Now, even we are talking about both coronal and apical seal, and this is an example of a case where the hand on the lower part showing a composite restoration with an open margin, and this open margin would cause a leaking, and this leaking would cause eventually the presence of periapical lesion. You can see that the tooth is well obturated. However, the presence of a leaking margin could cause the failure. Okay. This is the same tooth we did, and this is the restoration on the bite wing. You can see on the upper part of the bite wing the presence of a good restoration, protecting the coronal area of the tooth. Now, the other issue with the coronal restoration is when we are going to do the composite restoration to seal our canal, we have to clean the canal from inside. We have to clean the access cavity very well. Otherwise, the presence of small irrigants or small amount of sealer and guttapercha would prevent the bonding to the root canal space, and we end up with inferior quality restoration that will leak eventually and will end up with failure. So whenever we have a situation like that, we finish our operation, we have to clean the canal very well before starting our operation. Let's talk to the literature. Now, this is a study to assess the different sealer removal protocol on the bonding of self-etched adhesive to AH plus contaminated dentine. In this study, they found that removal of the sealer from root canal space would increase the chance of a good bonding. And another study, another recent study published in the last year, assessed the ability of how to remove the sealer contamination. In this case, they tried a cotton pellet, dry cotton pellet. They tried cotton pellet soaked with alcohol. They tried microbrush with alcohol, and they tried microbrush with alcohol with air polishing or the sandblasting, and the sandblasting alone. And in this study, they found that the best result was combining a microbrush with alcohol, reaching down deep to the orifices of the canal with the sandblast machine. And the sandblast will be the gift for this lecture tonight. Okay. And this is the result. You can see this is actually another study. Another study evaluated different bonding agent with and without the sandblast. And on the left, you can see the sandblast, and on the on the left the conventional, and on the right the sandblast. And you can see the type of failure. Now, the worst type of failure is the type 3 and 4, and the cohesive type of failure is the type 1. Type 2 is the mixed kind of failure. And in this case, you can see that the presence of air blast or sandblast would enhance the bonding and will increase the chance of the cohesive failure, which means that the bond and the composite would be cracked together, which means we have a good bonding if we use the sandblasting machine. Now, this is a little video on the sandblasting. Try to use the CA1 air abrasion system. In this case, I use the zinc oxide eugenol sealer, so I have to remove that sealer very well. Otherwise, the zinc oxide eugenol will decrease the success. Now, the machine worked very well on the coronal part. However, I noticed that because of the small tip, small nozzle, it doesn't go down to the orifices of the canal. So in this case, I recommend that you use alcohol beside the sandblast. So use alcohol first, do the sandblast, do alcohol again, and do the sandblast, and you would have end up with the best result. Sometimes you need to use a bear or a Getzigleiden to clean the orifices of the canal. So after that, you end up with a better result by using the alcohol. Now, this is before, after obturation, and after sandblasting using alcohol. You can even see the coronal part where the fissures are clean. There's no contamination of the sealer on the coronal access cavity and on the walls. So in this case, we would have a better bonding. Now, finally, we are done with our sandblasting. We need to go for the final restoration. In this case, I remove 2 millimeters of the gutta-perca coronally to create a reservoir for a resin-modified glass enamel, the Vitrabond, and I cover only the gutta-perca because of the gutta-perca has zinc oxide eugenol inside it, or zinc oxide, and this could affect the bonding. However, there is other school where they don't use it, so it's not a must, but you have to use the right way. You have to clean the orifices very well, otherwise it's better to use the Vitrabond. Let's look for this video and watch how to do the final restoration. Now, this is the Vitrabond covering the orifices. I use the selective etch technique because I use the 7th generation bond. And only I acid etch the enamel. In this case, you can see when I dry only the enamel. Keep the canal wet as much as we can. I use the Bisco Bond Universal. And usually it should be that you apply 2 or 3 coats and you evaporate the ethanol by air from your 3-way air syringe to wipe the excess as well. I use the new light cure from COXO. It's a nice one. It only covers the tooth. It's very small and sleek. Then I use the flowable composite inside. I use the Perfect Asteria composite, and this is the dentine shade. I can use the brush that I use for the bond to adapt the material inside without excessive bond. I don't add bond, but only I use the same brush that I use for the bonding. And in this case, we do the buildup for the dentine. Okay. If you want to add stains, it's the time now. However, I don't have the stains, unfortunately. Now we do the enamel shade. We use the natural enamel in this case. So after preparing the canal, okay, you can do the carving. And I recommend you to do the carving before you do the light cure, the final light cure. So you'd have better result and you don't need to do that much of finishing. Okay. Now the final step, I use a clear gel to eliminate the oxygen inhibited layer, and I do another light cure, and this is the final result you can see. So finally, to catch up with our lecture today, in my clinic I use the microscope, the COXO microscope, C-Clear 1. I use the C-Smart Mini app, and I like this one because it allows you to use the rotary files from different companies. However, I do have my own preference. There is a user preference, so I have the reciprocation with different angles I can change. I have the rotation with different speeds. The only critique that the motor cannot go more than 900 RPM. So I would like to have it with more speed because of some files that I use. They need higher speed, but otherwise, let's say it can cover 95% of the files in the market. Now we have the C1 Air abrasion system, which is a very nice one. You need just to know how to use it. It will help you in bonding for restorative and for endo. I have the ultra smart wireless ultrasonic activator. I love this really device. It has a good power, and it has a light that also help to clear the area of work. And finally, I have new baby, the new COXO light cure, nano light cure, which is a very nice device with a small tip and a strong power. It has enough power to light cure deep inside the root canal, and it has a lightweight and a small size. Finally, I would like to say thank you very much for attending this lecture. It was my pleasure to be with you tonight. If you would like to know more about my work and my experience, you can follow me in the Facebook, just writing my name, Taher Al Omari. Instagram is the same, Taher Al Omari. And I do have channel on the YouTube, Dr. Taher Educational Channel, with a lot of videos that you can see. And soon, inshallah, we'll start have some lectures on the channel. Thank you very much for your comment, and I was happy really to be with you today and waiting your questions. Muhammad? Dr. Muhammad? Hello? 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 Okay, I'm going to see the questions now. Hello? Okay, I'm going to see the questions now. There's a question from Dr. Sarjeet. Can I do endoperiolegion condition RCT will success? Yes, sir. If you do a good period treatment and good endodontic treatment, you should have a good success, actually. There are some cases with endoperio that you cannot treat, such as the vertical root fracture. Usually, the vertical root fracture is not a case that it is a kind of endoperio lesion, but it doesn't succeed. But otherwise, endoperio, yes, it can succeed. Thank you, guys. Nice words from you. Another question from Dr. Arfan. My question regarding your protocol of irrigation after final prep. Usually, I'm using the sodium hypochlorite 2.5 all through my treatment, and then finally, when I'm ready for obturation, what I do usually, I start with editor for 1 to 2 minutes. I activate the editor actually, and then after that, I irrigate with normal saline, sometimes directly with sodium hypochlorite. I irrigate after that with sodium hypochlorite. I activate my sodium hypochlorite for another 30 seconds. One nice thing about the COXO activator that it can activate for 30 seconds and it will stop by itself. So you know that the 30 seconds is enough for each canal. You can do more if you want. I do sometimes 1 minute in certain canals, but at least 30 seconds in each canal. And then I irrigate again with sodium hypochlorite 5 cc in each canal, and finally I irrigate with normal saline. Now, if I'm not happy with my irrigation, if there's a big periapical lesion, if the canal looks like not cleaned very well, or I'm not confident with my cleaning, I would go for 2 visits and place calcium hydroxide. Thank you, guys. Really, thank you for your nice words. I'm looking for any other question. Okay, there is a nice question by Dr. Ali Sayed. What do you think of the manual activation of sodium chlorate? Is the effect negligible? No, not really. The manual activation, let's explain what's the manual activation. The manual activation, usually you use your master cone by bumping the master cone in a vigorous way for 30 seconds as well. Now, this is equal and has the same effect of endoactivator, the one from Dentsply, but it's less than the ultrasonic. It doesn't cause the acoustic waves. All the studies showed that the manual activation is good. It's better than nothing for sure, but it's not effective like the ultrasonic. Ultrasonic is more effective actually. Now we have the laser. We did a review about that. The lasers is a good option. However, it has some limitation besides the high cost. We have the XP finisher, for example. It's another option. But the most common and the most, let's say, affordable is the ultrasonics. Dr. Hamza asked, do you directly alternate between sodium chlorate and EDTA, or you wash with saline in between? Actually, I don't wash with saline most of the cases. I use it directly, EDTA and sodium chlorate. Also, there is a debate about that. There was an old study says that using sodium chlorate after EDTA would erode the dental tubules. However, more recent studies actually says the opposite. It doesn't really cause that much destruction. So I don't really wash with normal salines. In some cases, yes, I do it, but not as a standard protocol. A question by Dr. Sheikh. Does editor need to be activated, doctor? I guess activating the editor would increase the efficiency of the editor, nothing else. And also it would help to eliminate the biofilm. You remember that the study I showed you that the editor has an effect on the biofilm, although it has no effect on the organic material, but still it has a good effect on shaking the structure of the biofilm. So that's why I would like always to activate the editor. The activation of the editor would help to decrease the strength of the biofilm, and then the sodium would come to eliminate the biofilm. A question by Dr. Sarah. How many times we can use rotary files before fracture? Now, this is a debatable issue. There's no rule really now. The rule is to use the files for 3 molars instead, like normal ways, and then after that you have to discard. Now, with the introduction of the heat-treated files, the files would survive for longer. The problem with heat-treated file, the file will lose the cutting efficiency with time. So it's recommended to use it again 2 to 3 molars. So I guess 2 to 3 molars is enough. Myself, I use it for 2 to 3 molars only. I don't use it more. Dr. Hussein, doctor, please repeat how we can eliminate the oxygen-inhibited layer. The idea that the oxygen-inhibited layer is the last layer of composite. When you light cure without barrier, there will be an area of uncured resin composite. If we wash that area, the fillers inside the composite would be more rough, and it will cause some roughness of the surface of the composite. So the best is to use a clear gel. You can find it in the pharmacy, a clear gel, and you can just light cure over the clear gel and then do the finishing. A question from Bogdan, Dr. Bogdan Jamin. What will be the next step if almost products are wireless now? You know what, Dr. Bogdan, It's not always wireless is an option. For example, in my clinic, I have 3 different ultrasonics. One of them is the wired one. I use it for broken instrument retrieval. So you cannot really get rid of all the instrument. The activators is not good enough. It's not enough. There's no enough power to do broken instrument retrieval. Dr. Arfan, do you insert the ultrasonic tip deep down the canal or just insert it to the middle third? The things that those tips comes with night eye tips, so you can insert it deep to the canal. You can insert them up to 2 millimeters of the canal actually to enhance your activation. It will not cause the sodium hypochlorite accident if it inserted up to 3 millimeters. However, the problem is that if the canal is not large enough, you might end up preparing the canal with ultrasonic. So you have to be careful. That's why it's better to use an ultrasonic tip with a night eye made, or there is even some plastic tips, the EDI from other companies. They have the EDI, which is also very effective. It's approaching the ultrasonic, maybe a little bit less, but it's approaching the ultrasonic. Dr. Iman asking me what's the difference between active and passive irrigation. Now, the active irrigation, the one we use with, I think the forceful needle, and the passive irrigation is the apical negative pressure. I'm not sure of that, Dr. Iman, but this is what I think. The active and the active is the conventional irrigation, and the passive irrigation is the apical negative pressure, which is like not used that much nowadays. Dr. Dahiman Nath, thank you a lot, sir. Thank you for you as well. Dr. Bodgan, thank you. A nice question from Dr. Ashiyajoti. Sorry for your name, I'm not sure about if I say it right. Do you prefer intracanal heating? Not at all, doctor. You should not use it. The intracanal heating would decrease the internal stiffness of the dentine by eliminating the organic tissues. So your bonding inside would be difficult, and you will lose a valuable dentine for bonding. So it's better not to use it, actually. Another question. So, hello, Nina. How are you? I'm just answering some questions. Answering some questions. Yes. The other question is about using citric acid as an irrigant solution. It has the same effect of Edita. So, using citric acid or Edita is the same. No difference at all, I guess. Maybe there is a little difference. And now there's a research. I have a friend. And a colleague in Germany, he's doing some research on some new irrigation material, and there's also the dual rinse. So using citric acid or Edita or the new material, I think it will be effective, but there is no much difference between them. Dr. Rato, what is your powder of choice for sandblasting? Myself, I'm using the aluminum oxide. 35, I think, microns. But one of my friends actually is a restorative dentist, and he debated about how I'm using, how I'm doing the final restoration. He used another material, I think something carbonate. I'm not sure, but I'm not really deep into that in regard to research. He don't use the Vitrabond, for example. There is a modified glass ionomer. He used the direct composite, and he used it in a different way. I use the bulk fill. He don't use the bulk fill. So it's a debatable issue, and I'm not really into that very well. Another question: is there formation of ledge with ultrasonic in curved canal? Yes, sir. Sometimes we can create a ledge, but remember, when you do when you insert your ultrasonic, usually you prepare the canal. So you have to be sure that your canal is wide enough to go inside the ultrasonic without problems. Dr. Irfan, don't you think the ultrasonic tip will damage the dentine even in the presence of hypo or irrigation or irritant? Not really. The ultrasonic made from nitrile or even small stainless steel, still it's flexible enough to go down deep inside the root canal without a damage. However, a kind of small laceration that need to be filled very well could happen, some scratches in the canal wall rather than destroying it. It will not cause a perforation, for example. Dr. Anas, is preferable to apply resin-modified glass ionomer to the forcation dome so that would seal any focal canal if present? Yes, okay, but even if you use a good bonding system and good composite, you would seal the same. So it's actually using the glass ionomer for two reasons. The first is to cover any remnant of the sealer that you cannot eliminate, and the second one is to cover the zinc oxide eugenol, the Gutenberg capsule. Sorry, Dr. Ruba, if we increase taper and not much apical enlargement, does it enhance deeper irrigation? The concept is either you do a small apical preparation with a quite large taper like F2, 25, taper 8, or you can go for a less taper and more apical preparation like 30 taper 4. Now, you remember the study that I showed that the irrigant flow better if we prepare up to 30 with the gauge 27. And thank you very, very much, guys, for your comments. Dr. Bogdan, you will create a dental unit with all those features in it. Okay, hopefully, yeah. Dr. Irfan, thank you very much. A question, I cannot read the name, I'm sorry, Doctor. Doctor, you recommended using bioceramics after doing endo treatment and before final restoration. Yeah, you can use the bioceramics. I use the bioceramics, not in all the cases. Actually, in my office, I use the zinc oxide eugenol sealer. I use the MTA modified resin sealer. I use the bioceramics, all of them. Now, the only problem is with the zinc oxide eugenol, we have to be careful for bonding. While when we talk about the bioceramics, you can do the direct bonding. It's not a big deal at all using bioceramics. I use it in certain cases, actually, but not with every case. It's quite expensive, that's why. In narrow canals, do you advise to prepare to size 30? Yes, for sure, no problem at all. Even in narrow canals, you can go for 30 taper 4, which is actually the minimum preparation size you need to reach the irrigant. There was a white layer formed in the dentine. Could I remove it with sandblast? Yes, sir, you can. Okay, so we have enough questions for tonight. Thank you very much,
Yes,
really,
yes.
guys. I was really happy to see you tonight, and thank you, COXO, for sponsoring this event. It was my pleasure to use your product and to have those guys with us tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Daham, to take the time to share its good experience to us. It's such informative topic to everybody. I saw today there are many dentists are very interesting to your course, and they all say the course is very interesting and informative. Thank you, Dr. Daham, again.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So in the next step, it's our lottery time.
Okay, nice.
So,
Let's see who's going to win. Yeah.
Let's Dr. Dahan will help us to choose who is the lucky person for tonight.
Right. I have to choose, or you will choose?
You later I will. You can 3, 2, 1. Then we can choose by system.
Okay.
I share the screen.
Okay, I should share my screen, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen.
Wait a moment. Let's review about the products of tonight.
Okay.
Is the air abrasion system with spray.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see who is the lucky one today.
Okay, could you please do it?
Yes, wait a moment. Now I choose the course and get the comment. Okay.
Right.
Comment now about 55. Then we can start now. 3.
Okay, start. Yes.
Okay,
2.
start. Then who will be the lucky person tonight? Congratulations. The winner is the Taher Al Omari.
It's me. It's me,
It's you.
actually. I cannot win twice, so I think you have to repeat that.
Okay, it's really so lucky to you.
Yeah, I'm so lucky. This is the first time I win a lottery, so I think you have to repeat it. Yeah.
I choose another one, okay?
Yes, okay. Just go again.
We pick another winner.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, you can
start, please. Dr. Ala Abu Mwais. Yes, congratulations, Dr. Ala Abu Mwais, for winning the Sandblast machine.
Yes, thank you. Congratulations. So,
thank you very much.
After the live video, our person will contact this dentist directly.
Right.
Yes. Hello, Dr. Cassidy.
Hello. Thank you, Dr. Taher, for this useful lecture.
You're welcome, Dr.
Yes.
Yeah, good of useful information to improve our endo treatments. You are lucky that the computer pick you.
See, this is the first time I won a lottery in my life, but it was in the wrong place.
You should claim the prize.
Okay. So COXO will keep to making the online webinar every week. So stay on our page. Welcome to more and more dentists to join the COXO free webinar. So now it's time for say goodbye. Then see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everybody, goodbye.
Goodbye. Good night. Dr. Muhammad,
Good night.
Good night. See you guys.
Bye.
Guys.